Football focus doing. Last week they had Brady. This week they got Brady.
We're literally doing it differently from everybody else.
As a matter of fact, moving forward from this point on, I will not make reference to PFF.
Ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right. We're going team by team.
I would be very careful about slinging stuff.
Am I going to get sued?
You got legal on this?
Let's send you out on the right note. PFF sucks. Have a great day, everybody.
Wow.
Welcome into the PFF NFL podcast. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. We're live on Monday morning here on YouTube. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Sam talking preseason week 2 storylines and reactions here.
Yeah, getting incrementally closer to the NFL regular season where real football happens. And as like a sneak preview, we got quite a lot of starter action in this week's preview.
Yeah, we got a bunch to talk about. Mostly the rookie quarterbacks. You know, we have more data points on the rookie quarterbacks to either figure out if we should ignore these or if we should, lean into them and overreact to them. I think I've got some overreactions this morning.
Of course, yeah.
Right? Shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Isn't that how we do it?
Uh-huh.
So we'll talk rookie quarterbacks and then whatever storylines you want to hit, whichever ones I want to hit, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and because these games were mostly played on Saturday because of whatever weird schedule the NFL chose. Nice.
Sam's mic's dead. Sam was going to talk about all the games being on Saturday night, which was odd from a scheduling standpoint. The NFL used to go from, you'd spread it out Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I don't know you well enough to completely finish your thought there.
Yeah, where do you think I was going to go?
That it was annoying that there were 8 games all at the same time on a Saturday night.
You would think what I was actually going to say.
Sam was going to say.
Is that because of that, all the grades are already up.
All the grades are already up. Oh, that was well done.
Right?
Good plug.
It would have been great.
So as you wake up here on a Monday morning and you're a PFF Plus user, you can go over to Premium Stats and check out all the grades.
Yeah.
They're already in.
Do I have a microphone yet? Am I still dead?
And while you're going to check out those grades, if you don't have the grades yet, I'll tell you what, the 2024 NFL season, it's fast approaching. You can get ahead of the game with PFF. Use code NFLShow25 to get 25% off your PFF Plus annual subscription. So here's the deal. 1 day, 2 days left, like this thing's ending soon. Tomorrow it's over. Now look, historically we'd say, we extend it a little bit. I don't know that's going to happen.
You got in charge.
I don't know if we're going to extend it. So do not bank on that. So by tomorrow, it's NFL Show 25, 25% off your PFF Plus annual subscription. You gain access to insights and tools trusted by all 32 NFL teams. You dominate your fantasy league and roster with PFF's Fantasy Mock Draft Simulator, draft rankings, live draft assistant, and in-season tools. Get premium stats for players, teams, and matchups from NFL and college football. And use best bets to find an edge in your player props and parlays. There is something for everyone here with PFF Plus. So for more, you go to subscribe.pff.com. Use code NFLShow25 at checkout. That's NFLShow25. Sends tomorrow, guys, so you better get in right now. All right. It's our second to last show here at PFF, and I've been joking about monologue style and getting after. Let's monologue it. Let's go. I'm ready. I'm just gonna read Caleb Williams' notes. I'm just gonna read to the audience, Sam. How's that sound?
I mean, you're going to have to for a while.
We're getting things worked out here. Caleb Williams played football again. The stats weren't gaudy. The stats weren't special, but there were some special plays in there. We've only seen 2 outings from Caleb Williams, and there's already the element of special playmaking that we saw from USC. There's some negative plays in there as well, but this is what I wanted to overreact to. Dude can play. Bears fans, you should be. You can overhype him. You could say, hey, he's gonna, win 17 Super Bowls or something, but they should be really excited about Caleb Williams and what he's capable of doing. Was that a yay?
I don't know. It's hard to know. We just changed the cable, and now we're live again.
There you are.
There we go. See?
I quit.
So I was about to I was about to put the gold jacket on Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Am I overreacting to that, Sam, or are you
Well,
as enamored with some of the things that he was pulling off on the field the other day?
I mean, obviously you're overreacting to it, but it's tough, right? Because the late Mike Renner, and we're soon to join the ranks of
How will we do
departed.
that? Would we say like rest in peace if it was about something we did
Yeah,
previously?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the
I wrote this article in 2014, rest in peace.
right.
Like that
Yeah,
type
I don't
of
know
thing.
what the protocol is for that, but anyway, the late Mike Renner, now of CBS, tweeted out, for all these people that are like, it's only preseason, blah blah, who hurt you? And I replied, Zach Wilson. Because remember, Zach Wilson's preseason debut was like his first preseason. He looked so good, so calm, efficient, like in sync with the offense, just dealing, just looked ready, right?
Yeah.
And okay, he wasn't necessarily doing the kind of crazy special things, but he just looked like he was going to be good. And then obviously Zach Wilson from that point on has been awful, right? So he's a good cautionary tale of like, look, it is only preseason. And we see it every year. Guys will look really good in preseason, and then the regular season starts and it's different. It doesn't translate, etc., right? But there's the flip side of that. The guys that are good in the NFL announce themselves in preseason, and there is something to that. Like you can see when guys are different right away. It's just that it's difficult to separate those guys and differentiate them from the ones that are selling you fool's gold along the way. So the point being, what we're seeing from Caleb Williams, when you couple it with his college career and everything we've seen from him so far, and the reason he was a number one overall prospect, it's very difficult not to get excited and to get carried away. And I think it was 3 straight plays, or like one play, then a couple, and then 2 consecutive plays. But there was a 3-play sequence where he showed like vintage college Caleb Williams ad-libbing, just ridiculousness that like. This is becoming a cliche as well, but like how many quarterbacks in the NFL can make these plays? There are very few.
5 or 6.
You're right. And they're all amazing, right? There are very few quarterbacks in today's NFL that could make that 3-play sequence that Caleb Williams made. The number one, like rolling out to his left and then dropping an absolute dime into Rome Odunze's bucket for a really big play, get him into the shadow of the goal line. The second play, he like ad-libs, makes a guy miss in the open field like he's not even there, puts it in the back of the end zone.
That was my favorite one.
Right. Odunze's stepped over the line. He's, keeping the feet in. Only the feet are 1.5 feet outside of the line. And then the third one where he just takes it in himself. Like, okay, any one of those plays, maybe a few quarterbacks can do that. All 3 of them together in the space of like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There really is a very small list of quarterbacks that can do that. And okay, the question is still, did he need to vacate the pocket on all those plays? Could he just, deliver the ball? Can he stay within the confines of the offense? But that 3-play sequence was special, and that's a reason to get very excited for Bears fans.
Yes. I mean, so look, all those plays showed his traits, natural athletic ability, but for me, mostly it's just the football instincts, right? So look, Are you requesting quarterbacks to bail from a clean pocket? Are you coaching them up? Are you teaching them to do that? Absolutely not. That is what he did on that first roll left downfield pass to Rome Odunze. But as I said last week on the show right here, Caleb Williams, one of the best, if not the best, on-the-move thrower in the NFL already. I don't believe that is going to change. If there's criticisms coming out of that game, he missed a couple early. Looked like he rushed a little bit, including, rollout into the flat when he was on the move. Held the ball a little bit too long for a sack. Probably could have ripped a seam route instead of taking the sack. And so this is what will separate Williams from the elite quarterbacks. Because when you say how many quarterbacks can do this, of course everybody says, well, Mahomes, Josh Allen does this type of stuff. Lamar Jackson can do these types of things. So if Caleb Williams is going to be among the elite, I think it's fair to say he can already do some of the special type of stuff that Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar and whoever else you want to put into that bucket can do instinctually on the football field, as a runner, as a passer. But those first couple plays, the quote-unquote easy stuff, he did that in game one, right? He kind of went through reads and hit a backside curl, Just has to do that more consistently. If he's going to be special, elite, get a little bit better at the easier stuff. And so the bet you're making here is essentially that will come along, right? That will come along with time. We'll start to hit a few more of the layups. We'll choose when to hit the layups rather than bailing from a clean pocket. Because I think even on the Adunze play, he had a backside receiver coming open that he could have hit, right? That if he was painting by numbers,
right?
Jared Goff, that's how you describe Goff. If he was painting by numbers like Jared Goff, probably hits a little backside in cut, 8 to 10 yards, and then you move on to the next play. But there's going to be a balance here between Caleb Williams taking the traditional route versus making the special plays. And I think as he finds that balance throughout his career, he's got a chance to be special.
And there is also a chance that he is so talented at the ad-libbing stuff that the rules don't necessarily apply the same way they do for other people. I mean, this is the Mahomes dynamic again, right? That Mahomes does a whole bunch of stuff that most people would never, not only would they not coach them to do it that way, they would actively coach him to stop doing it that way, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't do this. Even Brett Favre, a Hall of Famer, can't get away with these plays. That's crazy. And yet Mahomes is consistently able to do that. So at some point you just look at it and say, what the hell? Like, he can make it work. Like, I'm not going to mess with it. If Caleb, and that second play, your favorite, the should have been touchdown to Adunze, like, I think what's becoming clear, even through a couple of preseason games, is his athleticism and ability to make NFL defenders look ridiculous is actually significantly higher than maybe people gave him credit for. It's not just like, it's not like Russell Wilson necessarily where you can sort of bounce around and just extend the time a bit. Like, he can make people look ridiculous and have almost an endless amount of time back there to find something and make it work. That changes the rules for him, right? It's not the same as it is for somebody else where you have a finite amount of time, the clock ticks down, and now you're done. Like, the clock ticks down, there's a guy in his face, and then he makes that guy fall over, and then he's got 2 more seconds to find something else. Like, he might be ridiculous enough where the rules change, and now you actually don't need him to play inside the structure as much as a normal quarterback that can't do some of that stuff.
Zach Wilson, not in the preseason. Zach Wilson in the NFL, he had those points. Remember that one time I was like, Sam, it seems like every throw he makes is from right next to the sideline.
Right.
Zach Wilson was bailing from clean pockets and not seeing the field and trying to do too much outside of structure. And every now and again he would mix in a splash play. But it wasn't special enough where you're just like, well, that's just Zach Wilson. He's just an artist. You don't want to mess with him. I do think Caleb is special enough that is the case, right? That you're going to pass up some of the traditional stuff to get some of those special plays. I just want to remind people, though, I think what makes Mahomes elite and special, what makes Josh Allen, what brought Josh Allen in year 3 to the level of elite quarterbacks was playing within structure, playing within rhythm, and doing that extremely well. That was probably the most surprising thing when you saw Mahomes break out in 2018 was that it was like, oh wow, he is playing within Andy Reid's system and adding his own artistic ability on top of that, right? It is a combination. And what made Mahomes special, I think at that time, was like he's just not missing a whole lot. He just doesn't miss a whole lot of throws. The highlight reel's special, it's awesome, but he's just not missing a whole lot, right? He's not missing open receivers, missing throws, taking negative plays. And then Allen got to that point as well where he was able to play within structure. I know Allen has all those turnovers and everything, but we've said this about Allen too. You can't just do a list of Josh Allen's turnovers and be like, oh man, Josh better stop playing, because the incredible plays that he adds on the other end offset the turnovers. No other quarterback in the league can actually say that and actually play the way Josh Allen does. So I think at the end of the day, Caleb Williams ends up with his own unique, breakdown of what we expect at the high end and what you're willing to give up maybe on the lower end. Again, he took a sack. He missed a couple easy throws. He bailed from a clean pocket but turned it into a 50-yarder, right? Like those things, I think at the end of the day, you're just going to say, hey, we want those explosives and we want those special plays.
Yeah, he's going to play the game in a unique way. I mean, we're sort of trying to force him into some kind of conformed bucket of how a quarterback is supposed to play. but he's going to end up carving a new pathway the same way Josh Allen did, the same way Aaron Rodgers did, where he was amazing, but there's always a unique quirk to how each one of these amazing quarterbacks plays that isn't sort of robotically picture perfect. There's always something that they do that maybe isn't quite perfect, but is just the way that they've skewed in their performance. Like Rodgers always took sort of too many sacks relative to what you want, but he offset that by he never turned the ball over. Like he's the most careful quarterback maybe ever in terms of not throwing interceptions, and that created some of these more sacks. Like Caleb Williams is going to have his own unique way of playing this game that won't fit into just this, like, hey, this is the picture perfect way of doing it.
Yeah, I think Rodgers is the other comp, right? Rodgers definitely took more sacks than the other elite quarterbacks of his era, right? It was a clear Brady, Manning, Breeze, and Rodgers. And Rodgers always took way more negative plays than those other guys, but it was okay overall because he offset them with the special. So it'll be interesting to see where that balance is for Caleb Williams. Other guys, I mean, Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, when they were at the peak of their powers, they would also take way too many sacks, way too many negative plays. And I may have said the same thing. I said, look, Watson with Houston does a lot of special stuff, but got to learn how to take what's there a little bit more often, not take those negative plays. It'll be interesting to see where Caleb Williams lands with that balance. Is he going to take 3 or 4 sacks per game, maybe fire the ball into coverage a little bit too much, but offset that with those high-end plays that he's capable of. But look, it was another week. He's going to be must-see TV every single week. And it was another week where he showed all of those traits play on an NFL field, even against backups for the Bengals.
Right. Yeah, good? I mean, so this is one where I think the idea of like that criticism, oh, he only did it against the backups. This was the one where it's most irrelevant, right? Because it's like, look at the plays he was making. It's not about who he, like.
If he rolled left and threw the ball 50 yards, pinpoint on air,
right,
I'm like, whoa, that's pretty awesome.
Right.
Like Zach Wilson literally did that at a pro day, and everybody's like, whoa, that's incredible.
There's no cornerback that you could put out there on that rep that makes that play less impressive, right? Now, there's a cornerback that might have been absolutely glued to Odunze and maybe broken it up at the catch point, but the ball was still perfectly thrown into a spot that would lead to a completion if the cornerback let it get there. Like, there's nobody, like, if Sauce Gardner was the guy out there, right, maybe it's an incompletion, but it's still an amazing Caleb Williams play, and you're coming away with exactly the same, like, takeaway of what he's capable of.
All right, I want to move on to Jayden Daniels just in a minute here. But first, as a busy parent, you want to give your kids a head start in their financial future. But investing can often be both confusing and time-consuming. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it easy for you to set up an investment account for your child that grows with them and helps prepare for their financial future. Fabric by Gerber Life was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With a UGMA account from Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. UGMA stands for Uniform Gifts to Minors Act. So while your kids can invest when they're minors, a UGMA account allows you to invest on their behalf and gives their investments more time to grow. So join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family. Start investing in your child today at meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. That's meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. Portfolio is managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors, Inc. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Monthly minimum contribution required. Learn more at meetfabric.com. I should lend my terms and conditions. Read. Like they can use it when I'm gone.
Oh yeah,
just plug it in.
Like clip it.
Maybe not that one. I've had better ones.
No, you've had some good ones where you've absolutely nailed it.
It's usually when we have a guest,
right,
and it's like
when you're under pressure.
Under pressure.
Boom. Terms and conditions.
Pressure
are on point.
Let's talk Jayden Daniels. We only saw 3 dropbacks, right, in week 1. This time, we got to see a little bit more of Jayden Daniels. What were your initial impressions?
I thought generally he had the best ball placement of any of these rookie quarterbacks so far preseason. He had a lot of. They weren't asking him to do a ton. There was a lot of kind of quick game or simple one-read stuff. But there were a lot of things where it's like an out-breaking route where the ball location is quite important. And actually preseason is where you see how important it is because there's a ton of passes, left inside, and those are the ones that get broken up or turned into interceptions. Like almost every single one of those throws from Daniels, not only did he make the right read, hit the right guy, but in the right spot. Like the ball is out in front towards the sideline, away from the defender, and just made sure that these were going to be completions, not contested catches and problematic plays. So, yeah, he looked really good, really efficient, really accurate. The athleticism is obvious. They're giving him a ton of like read option type plays that I think are genuine options. Like he pulled a couple, including one where the defense just had the right call. Like
I thought he misread that one.
No, because he was reading the correct option guy, but they had a slot blitz coming in behind it.
I thought
he was just, that was dead on arrival. That
but
play.
they had the.
I don't know that was
had
a
the
true
bubble.
RPO though.
That's what I was wondering, because they had the bubble attached to
Yeah.
it, and if he was reading the nickel, so the nickel blitzes, ends up making the tackle on Daniels.
Yeah.
But if he was reading him, he'd be throwing the bubble behind him. Could have gone for a big gain.
Yeah, if it was a true RPO, the option was pass. But if it was simply a read option run play, the defense had it dead on arrival because either one of them was crushed.
They just ran it into an overload.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote that in my notes. I didn't know if it was definite misread or not, but that was, so we had 2 carries, for 13 yards. One went for nothing and one went for 13.
Right.
The 13 was like pretty good, right? They designed it, put a blocker out in front, and easy money.
Right. But the point being, they're going to let him take advantage of his athleticism. Now, even at the end of that play, like I would just love to see the guy protect himself a bit more.
As the play was happening, I'm like, all right, let's see what lesson. Has he learned anything this offseason? Has he changed anything? Has he been coached up? And
doesn't look like it.
This is in response to, there was some fun viral videos going around about Jayden Daniels just being a maniac, right? Taking lowering his shoulder and taking huge hits in college. And we're like, look, at the NFL level, you know you have to stay healthy. You're going to be making a ton of money. The investment's in you. You have to slide. And he didn't slide.
No.
In this game.
Like just hit the ground. take what you can get and then hit the ground, every play doesn't have to end with you getting hit. It doesn't.
It's fun because we've got like 11 passes, so let's overanalyze all of them. I thought his balance and timing and accuracy was fantastic, especially on outside vertical ISO routes. He did overthrow a slot quick out, but just like he overthrew the screen last week, just a couple errant misses. But other than that, his accuracy has been really, really good. He looks, even if you took away the running ability, he just looks really effective in the pocket, right? And if I didn't know that he was a great runner, I'd say, look, he's looking good in the pocket.
This is the one where I've been really impressed so far, but this is the one where this is the kind of preseason that Zach Wilson had, right? Where he just looked comfortable, clean, everything was good, it was in rhythm, like he just looked ready, right? And then obviously Zach Wilson rocked up in the regular season. It's like, who the hell is this guy? This was not what we saw in preseason. So this is the one where it's like, okay, everything so far from Jayden Daniels looks really good, and I've been impressed, and I'm expectations are high now. But this is like a classic example of we've seen this before, and it doesn't always go this way.
I'm going to say this every preseason in perpetuity, and you probably will too. We'll talk about the Zach Wilson preseason as the stuff of legend. I want to talk about the Daniel Jones preseason as well. Just have to throw it in there.
Apologies on point.
Remember Daniel Jones in the preseason. Gets drafted at 6 overall. Most people think it's crazy, including us, including Dan Orlovsky, and Dan was issuing apologies to Daniel Jones after his first preseason game. One of those I didn't know your game, man. I didn't respect your game. I didn't know. Because Jones was 25 for 29 for 450, and it looked ridiculously good.
I've never been able to find this tweet since. Maybe they deleted it. But I'm pretty sure the Giants Twitter account, the official Giants
swing pass,
was demanding, apologies based off his preseason, couple of passes in his preseason.
I mean, that was probably 8 social media managers ago, but yeah.
Yeah.
There are, and then last year, Kenny Pickett. I got suckered in, man. Kenny Pickett, year 2, perfect passer rating, looking great. They're throwing in the middle of the field.
It was 8 touchdowns on 8 drives, right?
Oh, it was unbelievable.
His preseason was basically perfect.
Coming off of, we liked the Steelers offseason, so we've got, who hurt us, Mike Renner? Zach Wilson, Daniel Jones, and Kenny Pickett. all hurt us by making us, rethink, either try to confirm priors or rethink priors, and they all hurt us. One of the things that stood out, again, let me just overanalyze.
It's really frustrating because in a perfect world, you would love to not know any of that and just be like, oh, this guy looks amazing, this guy looks terrible. Let's take that as gospel and run with it. Whereas now you have to be like, but we know it doesn't always go this way. And you're trying to work out what's real versus what's fool's gold.
I think the interesting aspect is trying to figure out when a guy looks different than he did in college.
Yeah.
Like when Dak, and then there's Dak Prescott, right? Dak's first ever preseason game was against, I believe it was against Jared Goff, both in the same class. Goff is the number 1 overall pick, and Dak was in the 4th round. And Dak is over there, boom, 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 looking great, comfortable, unbelievable in the pocket. And it looked a little different from college because in college he was kind of like a battering ram, Dan Mullen, run-first quarterback who ran a lot of play action and, had some uneven play, even though overall Mississippi State played well for Dak. And Jared Goff looked like he might not even make the roster, but he's number 1 overall, so we got to work through it. And that ended up being true for that season, right? So it is tough to look through that. Let me overanalyze this one play.
Nice.
5-man pressure, too deep, coverage behind it. I know this is like one of those NFL trends that people are talking about. There's going to be a lot more blitzes with a safe shell over the top. So usually when you blitz, you're giving up big play opportunities. The NFL has trended toward, we want to create pressure, we want to blitz, but we want to make sure we're not giving up big plays. And Daniels threw an errant fade out of bounds. It looked like, is this a Cliff thing? Didn't have good blitz answers. Now, they're not game planning. They're not doing any of that. Didn't have a good answer on the play. Daniels just kind of chucked it up. Just something to keep an eye on. That you've brought up the Kingsbury offense a lot, and it's far more than like, is Terry McLaurin just going to line up at left wide receiver the entire time? It's going to be the whole gambit of using motions, creating mismatches, having blitz answers in a league that is evolving their pressure packages. I want to keep an eye on that from a schematic standpoint. It was just one play, but it just had that. It reminded me of the thing we kept saying about Jalen Hurts and the Eagles last year. Like when they have a blitz, when they get blitzed, when they get pressure on them, they have no answers. They didn't have answers for things.
Yeah, no, that wasn't a good play. Now, if you want to sort of credit Jayden Daniels there, it's like he understood that it wasn't really on, and he just could have safely lofted it out of bounds in the sort of safe throwaway kind of area. You know, like maybe if I land it just about in bounds, there's a chance my guy could come down with it, but basically I'm throwing it away, or at least making sure nobody else can make a play on it. So made the best of a bad situation. But you're right, from a schematic point of view, it's not ideal that was the outcome.
Just keep an eye on it. I mean, as we're separating, as you're looking at offensive coordinators, and we saw again the Eagles were the extreme example, having answers when the NFL is evolving a little bit and changing up how they run pressure packages. Just have to keep an eye on that from an offensive coordinator standpoint. Thursday night, let's go back to Thursday night and Drake Maye. We didn't get to see any Drake Maye in the first matchup. Similar, 3 dropbacks. Had been working mostly with the 2s behind Jacoby Brissett at practice. Finally got to see extended playing time from Drake Maye. He was probably the most overanalyzed because, island game, and we hadn't seen him in week 1. But what were your initial impressions of Drake Maye from Thursday night?
Yeah, so Drake Maye had been the guy that's been getting the most negativity, I guess, of these top quarterbacks so far, not just in preseason, but training camp, et cetera, as well. And this was a real answer, I guess, for Drake Maye, where he looked really good. And, okay, if you're just looking like a ton of these games, the preseason, a lot of people aren't really watching. They're just coming back after the fact and looking at stats and stuff. If you do that for Drake Maye for this game, this is one of those examples where, stats don't lie, except here. Because Drake Maye's stats don't look good at all, right? 11 attempts, 6 completions, 47 yards. Which is 4.3 yards per attempt. So you look at his stats, you're like, Drake Maye, same as ever, right? Inconsistent, inaccurate, didn't look good. And yet the reason is, he ends up with an 81.5 PFF passing grade because the best 2 throws he had in the night both fell incomplete, both to Javon Baker, like dime down the sideline, another really nice play up the middle that Baker couldn't come up with. Like, those were his 2 best passes. Both would have been significant gains, neither of which ends up being a completed pass. So perfect example of why, sometimes the stats do in fact lie.
Yeah, so Maye to me looks, this is different from what I just described about Dak Prescott in his first game, what we've described with Caleb Williams and with Jayden Daniels. I thought Caleb and Daniels just kind of looked ready. right from the get-go. I mean, we're 15 dropbacks in for Daniels. We're about 30 in for Williams, not even. They just looked more ready. Maye looks like he is building confidence, and it's just getting better and better. He looked a little unsure of himself, I thought, in week 1. It sounds like he's looking a little unsure of himself during practice. Remember, they had that practice report where between Maye and Brissett, they were sacked 14 or 15 times, depending on who you ask, on 41 or 42 dropbacks, which is an insane number. But I think Maye, like once he hit this backside dig route, and again, it was not a big sample size to work off of, and everybody's like, all right, he did a good thing. Backside dig. He worked through his progressions, kept his footwork nice, and hit the dig. The issues that showed up in college, though, the short area footwork, there was still some indecisiveness on that. He missed a couple throws early. One was caught. It was a one-handed flat route that was caught that he overthrew. Still got caught. So the short area stuff, I don't think is it's still, I think, a work in progress. That was what we had maybe expected coming out of UNC. But I'm just seeing his confidence, right? He had looked athletic on the keeper, right? Kept one for a touchdown on his own read, and he hit the big post that got dropped by Baker. That I thought was a great throw. Put it right on him for the most part. So yeah, I think encouraging signs from Maye, and then if you read practice reports coming out of New England, they're creeping into more first team reps, and all the reports are his good days are starting to stack up rather than being more of a roller coaster ride. So I think that's just the thing to keep an eye on with Maye. He might have just a slightly different development curve. I know there's going to be a push for him to maybe start during the regular season. I still don't know if that's going to be a good thing or not, Sam. Right? They don't have established wide receivers, despite getting encouraging reports from the rookies, Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. But again, Baker's the guy that kind of messed up a couple passes on his end. And the offensive line is going to be questionable. And you have Alex Van Pelt, first-time play caller there. Is he first-time play caller, I believe? New system, we'll say. So there are reasons to just sit Drake Maye and give him more of those practice reps to build that confidence leading into the season. But it sounds like things are trending in the right direction for Maye.
Yeah, definitely. He's the one where the case of does he start or not, I think, is actually dependent on things outside of Drake Maye. That's one where the question, it's always is it a good thing? Can you actually harm them by putting them out? This is one where the situation around him might be bad enough that you simply don't want to risk him being out there. I don't think it necessarily does him good to be getting those live reps when his offensive tackles might be a turnstile, right? That's you see this in preseason as well. You get good evidence of why this is a potential concern and why it's not necessarily a positive to simply get them reps. If you see these quarterbacks out there with the second team, because generally speaking, the second team, the receivers are worse and the offensive line is garbage, right? You see these guys out there with the second team offensive line and they're running for their lives. They can't execute the offense because the line simply doesn't hold up well enough for them to work within structure. So all the stuff we're asking for Caleb Williams, right? Can he play? You don't get the answer to that. So you're basically entrenching bad habits by putting these guys out there in a situation where they're going to have to go off script to make anything work. At which point, is that worth it? Is the net result of making stuff work outside of structure versus getting live reps and therefore getting used to playing at the NFL level, is that a net positive, or are you actually creating habits you're going to have to work out later?
I was talking to one of the QB's agents last week when I was at Seahawks Titans, and he said on one of the passes, a receiver ran a route. If the route was supposed to be at 18, he broke it off at 12.
Right.
Now, when we've been doing PFF analysis through the years and everything, sometimes a guy's breaking it off at 18, and it's well, is it supposed to be 17, or did he round the break? And it makes it look bad. Most of the time, they're not off by 6 or 7 yards, right? They're usually not off by that much, and it literally changes the entire course of the play.
Yeah.
Those are the tough things to really know and understand.
Look at Brock Purdy yesterday, right? For some reason, Brock Purdy was playing in this preseason game with none of his receivers and an offensive line that theoretically I think was as close to full strength as they can make it, but that means no Trent Williams because he's not there. At least one other backup, and the line, even when it has its starting five out there, is relatively shaky on paper with the best offensive lineman in football on it. So effectively, Brock Purdy is out there with none of the usual assets that make the 49ers offense so amazing. And it's like it didn't function. Like there were a couple of plays where he's running for his life. There's another one where he's running to the sideline, imploring a receiver to like make the adjustment that he wants. Like, come back towards me down the sideline. It's not on. He ends up having to just take a sack and run himself out of bounds. Like, that's the kind of impact that it can have. And that's on like a settled, comfortable starter who's playing really well in a system that works. If you do that to a rookie quarterback, I think it can definitely make problems for you down the road.
Two more rookie first-round quarterbacks to discuss here. Michael Penix Jr. did not play. And in fact, the report out of Atlanta is like, nope, he's good. We're good.
We saw everything we needed to see.
All I'm going to say, and this is one I just want full disclosure. I haven't talked to Zach about this specifically or anything like that. It's just I've generally tried to convey the message that the team that picked Michael Penix Jr. 8th overall, despite their free agent investment in Kirk Cousins, they really like Michael Penix Jr. They love him as a player, and I would just add this evidence to the mix here. Like, they feel so good about him, obviously, that they don't think that he needs the rest of the preseason.
Yeah, I don't really understand this one. Like, even if it's true, which it does appear to be, that they love Michael Penix Jr., they think he's the answer, he's going to be the guy, it's still not for, a year or two, right? So in that situation, what harm does giving him the first reps do? Again, I get if you're not playing anybody on offense, or like any of the starters, then okay, fair enough, because again, then you potentially expose him to those reps with the number twos, which are not helping anything. And if that's your argument, that's okay, but I would articulate it better than simply, we're good, we saw everything we need to see. Like, somebody said something like, every time somebody from Atlanta says anything about the quarterback situation, they get angry because they make it sound worse than it is every time they talk about the dynamic, right?
This is just, it's really fascinating, though.
But if that was their answer, like, look, we were really impressed week one. We don't want to put him out there with a second-team offense because that will create that's not fair reps. Those are not useful reps. And the rest of the offense, the first team, are taking the night off as well. Therefore, he's not playing. Okay, I can get that argument. But simply saying we don't think there's value to him getting preseason reps anymore, he's so far along, these are useless reps to him, that I don't understand as an argument.
I mean, I wonder if they're just leaning so much on joint practice reps that they've had. But, man, they've now done two things that are kind of unprecedented, right? They drafted him number 8 overall with a $40+ million quarterback, the biggest free agent quarterback on the market.
Yeah.
And they still drafted him 8 overall. Now, probably for the first time in history, they took a rookie quarterback who's not slated to start, and they're like, nah, we're good. We're good. And we're not playing him. Are they itching to start him?
No.
Are they itching to start him?
No. It's what I said. To be clear, none of their starters played in this game. So what they've done is simply said,
not in week, but I'm saying like week 5. Like, are they looking to start him at some point?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
They've simply determined that he is good. He is ready to go in terms of he runs with the first team now. Like, any work with a team other than the first string is not helpful for his development. So the first team is not playing in this game. Therefore, Michael Penix Jr. is not playing in this game. They have made the determination that it's not that Michael Penix Jr. doesn't benefit from preseason reps. It's that he doesn't benefit from reps that don't involve the first team, which I think is an entirely reasonable point to make. So my biggest problem, I think, the more I think about their entire quarterback approach this offseason, the more I think this is true. They have a messaging problem. What Atlanta is doing is actually entirely reasonable from start to finish. They upgrade a quarterback to the point that as soon as they make the Kirk Cousins signing, they are literally the betting favorites for that division. They use a top 10 draft pick on a quarterback they believe is incredibly good and secures a potential decade-long prosperity at the position and an orderly succession plan that most teams don't get to enjoy. And now they're simply not exposing that guy to meaningless reps with a second-string offense that's going to entrench bad habits or actually potentially make him worse. And it all looks stupid because every time they talk about it, they sound ridiculous.
The decisions themselves are fine.
Yes. Their messaging
but saying
is
like,
the problem.
my rookie quarterback doesn't need the reps.
Right.
Might not be the best way of.
It's the explanations that are the problem, right? So remember after the draft where they came out and they said, if Michael Penix doesn't see the field for like 8.5 years, it's good. That was the biggest problem. They
it's
came
a little
out
hyperbole there.
and they said four?
They said 4.
I mean, 4 is bad, right? Every time they talk about it, it sounds worse than it is. That's the problem here.
That's implying that Kirk Cousins is playing at an all-pro level for 4 years.
It's still bad messaging. That's their issue. Like every time they need a PR director. They need somebody out there who understands messaging.
Could
to
you
say,
not, please,
this is how...
we have to go through the PR director probably to lock in Zach, to make sure we've got him as a guest in the future.
Then their PR director needs to be more involved in the public comments that are coming out of the building.
Let the record show, I'm not saying anything negative about anybody in Atlanta, PR-wise. Mm-hmm. So maybe Zach and I will just do one-on-one interviews and we'll call it the Big Time Throwcast.
Yeah.
The Big Time Throwcast.
That worked the last time.
On Check the Mic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Penix wasn't in my notes, but had to at least bring
I didn't even understand it until I looked up that the starters weren't playing either. So that, I think, is the explanation. It's just that their conveying of that explanation is not good.
All right, let's go to the Bo Nix and the Broncos just last night. 27-2, Broncos beat the Packers. I call that the Nick Foles, Sam.
27-2.
That was his touchdown-to-interception ratio back in 2013. Bo Nix looked pretty good last night, moving around and completing passes, doing Oregon-type stuff.
Yeah, he did. He looked good. He had a sort of improv touchdown taken off the board because it was like he was past the line of scrimmage when he threw it. But got a nice one later on where he found his guy. I can't believe you, of all people, have not already brought up Tim Patrick's comeback.
It's looking great.
Yeah.
Looking great. Hurt the last 2 seasons and looking great. I have mixed emotions about it, though, as a Tim Patrick guy.
Yeah.
But also a Marvin Mims and a Troy Franklin guy. I mean, this is really...
It's a crowded room now.
The Broncos have, because you were texting me about the pass rushers that you and I both like, Nick Bonito and Jonah Ellis. They have a lot of those, like, middle round type of guys that we like.
Yeah.
Second rounders and beyond that we've kind of liked through the years.
They do. Anyway. But I think
Tim Patrick looks fantastic.
He does, and that made a guy like Jerry Jeudy expendable. Like one of the reasons they potentially moved him on is, look, Tim Patrick's back. He looks the same as ever. He looks an important part of this offense. Cortland Sutton is still there, and we're seeing Bo Nix be a bit more aggressive. Remember the crazy low average depth of target at Oregon. I mean, that looks like an Oregon It looks like an Oregon dynamic rather than a Bo Nix dynamic, right? He is capable and willing, apparently, of pushing the ball further down the field and still being accurate with it. So, yeah.
I mean, you're not going to have the stats back you up on that one with an ADOT of 4.
Right, but we are seeing him actually target deep down the field, actually push it downfield when the opportunities are there.
Nice deep in cut and
right.
everything. I mean, he's made some nice plays.
And I think we are seeing what was theoretically a quarterback competition. I mean, there's no reason to not start Bo Nix based off what we've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember if I said this on air or not, but Bo Nix, if you combine college and NFL starts, Bo Nix has twice as many starts as Anthony Richardson. He's got more starts than Jordan Love, right? So he has more starts than Jordan Love has combined at Utah State and Green Bay. And so, yeah, he's the most experienced college quarterback in NFL history to come into the NFL in history. He should be most ready to hit the ground running, theoretically, and he should have a chance. I think the problem – I didn't want to say the problem with Nix, but the reason why he was the 6th quarterback off the board is not because of experience or his ability to start right away. It would be ceiling relative to the other quarterbacks who got drafted, right? Penix and J.J. McCarthy, Drake Maye, Jayden Daniels, Caleb Williams all have theoretically higher ceilings. Now, before people scream at me, I'm hearing you already. I know he's athletic. I know he's got a good enough arm. Like, that doesn't mean he doesn't have tools, but we've seen over 60 college games of Bo Nix. You have a better idea of what he is than what Drake Maye is and what these other guys are, J.J. McCarthy is. So, yeah, I think he's ready to start. He should be the starter for the Broncos, and go get him. I think has a chance to have some early success in that Sean Payton offense, especially if the great Tim Patrick is back here and healthy.
Yeah, and I think, his ceiling, the things that would usually cause concern for a player's ceiling, our physical tools and all those kinds of things, those are all there. His arm looks legit. His athleticism looks legit. Anything that we've seen from a physical standpoint so far in preseason, I think has come down on the side of, actually, he's maybe more impressive than people were giving him credit for pre-draft. So, it's not been announced yet. I don't think they've officially given a winner for this quarterback competition, but there really is no reason not to give it to Nix.
The point I guess I'm trying to make was, when Mac Jones in that draft class, he was QB5 in the 2021 draft class, and he had the most success the first year. And if you're really analyzing it properly and you're like, well, yeah, his skill set is probably conducive to hit the ground running. Go through his reads, hit open receivers, pretty accurate. But the Mac Jones issue was ceiling, right? Was okay, will he ever take the next step and ever get better? And clearly there were issues there. So much like Mac Jones in 2021, if Bo Nix, say outside of Caleb, if Bo Nix had as much success as any rookie quarterback in year one, would you be that surprised? I guess over Jayden Daniels, I'd be a little surprised, but it wouldn't be that crazy.
Right.
Then the question would be all right, are we, is there more to his game? Can he do it multiple years, and can he continue to improve? And that'd be the question.
No, I think that's true. It wouldn't be shocking if Nix was very good right out of the gate.
All right, so that's your rookie quarterbacks, and then I've got a bunch of smaller storylines I wanted to talk about. You have some things that stood out from this weekend you want to discuss.
We have to talk about Daniel Jones. So in this world
outside of the interceptions, he played well. That was going around.
Outside of the interceptions, he played well. Does that include the almost interception at the start? Outside of the interceptions and the almost interception,
yeah, outside
he played
of those.
well.
Look, 66.7 grade with those 3 turnover-worthy plays. So he had 3 big-time throws. What? Go ahead.
Yeah. So in this world of
you asked for more aggressiveness and volatility. When you have 6, we'll call them game-changing throws, Sam. I've tried that before. So game changers. You got big-time throws plus turnover-worthy plays. Those are game changers, both positive or negative. He's got 6 out of 18. When 33% of your passes are, quote, game-changing throws, they're doing what you want, Sam. He's doing what you want. He's being aggressive. He's playing all crazy.
The ambiguous game-changing throw. Yeah. So his turnover-worthy plays in this game were so bad. There's, it's preseason in this world of what does it mean? A quarterback of Daniel Jones' experience and with his time in this offense, it's not like there's a new system that's being implemented last week and this is the first time he's running through these play calls. Daniel Jones theoretically should know what he's doing at this point, right? Particularly coming out of Duke. He should know, right? And these are plays that, if any of these rookie quarterbacks that we were talking about were making these plays, you'd be like, wow, that's a concerning reason to not start in week 1.
He's just trying some stuff.
And instead, Daniel Jones is sitting there on this $100+ million contract, heaving these ridiculous throws. The safety turned pick 6 was one of the most absurd plays anybody made this weekend.
It's just experiment.
At any level, right? Forget starters, forget first round. Any quarterback that saw game time in this preseason, that's one of the worst plays that was made. It was a bad play going south, ending in a safety, and Daniel Jones found the only way possible of making it worse, which is, what if I took a guaranteed safety and turned it into 6 for the opposition instead? Just nightmare. And that was after he tried to throw an interception right to Derek Stingley. Just catastrophic mistakes from Daniel Jones. Now, as you rightly point out, he did have some big-time throws as well. And Malik Neighbors, I assume one of them was that pass early to Malik Neighbors where he didn't come down with it.
Yeah, the one he didn't come down with, and then the back shoulder away from Neighbors.
So, early in the game, one of his best throws didn't count as well. This idea of the stat sheet doesn't always tell the full story. That was a very nice play that Neighbors didn't come down with. Now, Neighbors then made up for that later on and made some nice plays. But, you come away from that game, Derek Stingley looked phenomenal. He broke him the ball early.
I have a different take on that first pass. I implore the Stingley pass. I implore Ben to take that one off the board.
Why?
I think that's on Neighbors.
I don't think it is. Like that.
That was bad depth on his route. That was in my Neighbors' notes.
I don't know there's anything Neighbors could have like Stingley is sitting in off coverage waiting for that.
Doesn't matter. Neighbors should be in between Stingley and the ball, and I think Neighbors is running that little what should be a 5-yard hitch. Listen to me, Sam. This is not bad. 5-yard hitch, should be out of his break better, coming back to it a little bit at 5, and he's drifting to 6 or 7, letting Stingley get in there. That's on Neighbors.
Jones can't throw that
Ben,
ball.
it's on Neighbors.
Jones can't throw that pass.
Why?
Why? Because the corner is waiting for it. He's literally sitting there playing that exact. That's all Stingley is playing on that
7
throw.
yards off, and if Neighbors stops at the 22-yard line where he probably should have broken off his route, and he works back, it might get broken up, but he's got a chance to catch it. That's a standard 5-yard hitch that Neighbors was off on. Neighbors had a slow start in this game because he was going to be one of my talking points. Neighbors had a slow start. I think this route is off, and of course he had that pass he should have hauled in. That was a good Daniel Jones throw. Now the safety turned touchdown. Yeah, it's one of the worst plays. What was the year where Daniel Jones had like a couple of the worst -2s we've seen?
Any given year of Daniel Jones'
Couple
career.
years. There was a couple years ago. So yeah, I disagree on the first one. I think it's more on the receiver.
I don't think Daniel Jones can put that ball in the air. Like the corner is sitting there staring at him the entire way. It's his only read. He's looking right at it, and instead he chooses to throw it. Now, does Neighbors push it too deep, trying to get the corner to back off? Sure.
Off coverage quarters, man.
Right, but the corner's
Standard
squatting
play.
on it. Like even if Neighbors hooks that up at the 20-yard line and puts himself between the corner and the ball, at best it's a contested target right into the guy that's playing it. Like it's a bad throw that ends up looking worse because the receiver doesn't help him out on the play. But this is what happens when you're running a route against a guy who knows what you're trying to do. Like you are trying to convince a guy to do something different, but he's simply not concerned with what you're running because all he's doing is playing the play, like the play call.
The other Stingley pass was just a beautiful interception.
Yes.
I mean, that was just so good. There was really nothing there. Stingley's pinning the receiver to the sideline, makes a great play on the ball. Jones leaves it too far inside. I mean, look, we already talked about Daniel Jones in his rookie year preseason. Last year in the preseason, he looked fantastic, and him and Darren Waller looked like they were ready to hook up 150 times during the year. So I'm not going to – I know who Daniel Jones is, all right? I don't care about Daniel Jones preseason. I'm not going either way. Game-changing throws or not. I'm going neither way here with Daniel Jones.
Well, my point
reactions.
being, you have this fascinating dynamic of, Derek Stingley was amazing, but Daniel Jones was also awful. I don't know. I think any starting quarterback or any guy that you expect to be playing with the first team to have those types of mistakes, I think is problematic, especially when the guy is on, a big-term contract, when the guy needs to be good this year. Like your offseason was about, no, we're not going to go quarterback. We're going to get Neighbors. We're going to help him out. And that's the first return from it. That's awful for the Giants.
What did you think of Neighbors in this game, though? Because, we just talked about I think there might have been a question. Either way, it was a questionable route. He was indecisive on that, whether the depth was right or wrong. Like there was some indecisiveness there on the first one. Could have hauled in the second pass from Jones. Other than that, though, I thought he looked pretty athletic and showed some of that big playability.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's explosive. His kind of bounce and just athleticism at the catch point is really impressive. There was a really nice sideline catch that he made where he gets his feet down as well. Like he looks explosive and looks like a difference maker within this offense. But obviously he's not the absolute finished article already.
He had to go up and get a few of those passes. I don't know if there was one he kind of jumped for. I don't know if it was as high as he made it look. That was the one question I had. Is he making some plays look a little bit more difficult than they need to be? But the back shoulder throw, I thought he did need to go up and get, and that was a nice sideline type of play. I mean, he looks like a difference maker. And then to your point, yeah, there's some polish, to be added there that could make him even better. Which is, look, how long did we talk about Neighbors versus Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Right.
And so that those are different dynamics, right? Neighbors might be, Neighbors is probably more explosive and has better big play ability, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is running routes he should be running routes at a Pro Bowl type level, at least as a start, right? A starting caliber level already. Different kinds of games, and I think both guys are going to still be extremely productive right from the get-go.
Yeah, they both should be extremely good. Obviously, Harrison didn't play this week, sat down with the starters.
Has he done anything since the draft? I'm just kidding. He hasn't worked out, hasn't played football. I'm just kidding. No, there's a couple of awesome routes from camp that have come out. I've seen those clips of Marvin Harrison Jr.
Not many, though. It hasn't been, there's been Neighbors clips every 3 minutes.
I did see people complaining that there's Greg Dortch highlights
right
all over the place and not Marvin Harrison Jr.
So another quarterback situation that we need to touch on is the Steelers.
Before we get there, can we talk about Gooder?
Yeah.
Gooder Sunglasses. New sponsor here on the PFF NFL podcast. I know you got some pairs, Sam, but we're talking stylish pairs starting at $25 a pair. You get a 1-year warranty. There's 30-day free return. Really cool, vibrant colors, sleek styles. There's a pair of Gooders for every personality, Sam. Designed for both everyday wear and active individuals that are going to love to run, hike, bike, and much more. I know you were telling me, did you already lose one of your 3 pairs?
I mean, I didn't lose them. They were immediately claimed / stolen by my wife almost the second they arrived in the house.
So that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So when you buy some, you hide them from your significant other, so you have them for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of took them out of the box. Packaging's all nice. They're well kind of laid out there. And when I displayed them, extremely nice quality, like very good quality. And then immediately my wife claimed one of the pairs and was like, mine. So stolen before I'd even got a chance to wear them.
Because they're so affordable, you don't have to worry about losing or breaking them. You can have a pair for every occasion. So if you need a new pair of sunnies, Gooder is giving PFF listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com. That's GOODR.com/PFF. Use the code PFF for free shipping. Gooder offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's gooder.com/PFF. Gooder is GOODR.com/PFF. Use the code PFF for free shipping. Steelers?
Yeah, Steelers quarterbacks.
What do you think?
They both look bad right now. That's not great. So on the one hand, we've actually praised the Steelers' offseason approach to the quarterback position. They got multiple options for pennies on the dollar. They're barely paying Russell Wilson. The Broncos are picking up that tab. Justin Fields was acquired for not very much. He's not being paid very much for a team that was in a tough spot with the Kenny Pickett move having not worked out, and with quarterbacks generally not being in abundance in free agency, and unless you're picking at the top of the draft, you don't have a great shot at them. I think they did realistically as well as you could have expected them to do, and theoretically both of those guys should be an upgrade over Kenny Pickett. Neither one of them looks good though at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Russ was sacked 3 times on 13 dropbacks. So go back to our Caleb Williams analysis, and I'm like, that's so cute. Caleb's leaving a clean pocket and dancing around and making play. It's so cute. The little guy's just doing some stuff, and it's you can't contain that guy, right? When Russ does it though, it's like, come on, man, throw the ball. Well, Caleb, at this point in his career, you know what I mean? Like early in Russ's career, it's like, look, is the dude going to vacate the back of the pocket? Yes. Is he going to miss some reads and then run around and find Tyler Lockett in the back of the end zone? Yeah, like that stuff's going to happen. It might not look conventional, but it's Russ. Overall, it's gonna play. But over the last 3 years, when he's lost a step, and look, there's a couple of those plays last year, right? He hit Cortland Sutton in Buffalo. There's some of those plays. It's just not enough to justify 3 sacks on 13 dropbacks the way it's happening.
Well, that's the thing. Caleb Williams is actually looking like early career Russell Wilson, where he's able to make all those plays work and find the deep ball at the end of it, and unconventional approach to the game, but actually make it work and be really productive. And Russell Wilson, as he's aged, I think has simply run into a period of his career where he's not able to make those plays anymore. And quarterbacks all, I think, have to go through this period of their careers, particularly if they play the game in a unique way, there comes a time where something changes, whether you're physically you're no longer able to play the game that way, and you need to be able to change. And, Peyton Manning went through this when he had his neck injury and he lost the majority of his arm strength, right? All quarterbacks kind of run through these periods where they have to adapt their game, and Wilson hasn't been able to do that. He's no longer able to play like Caleb Williams, and so he's just no longer able to play at a particularly high level.
Yeah,
and that looks like it's becoming a permanent feature.
And it's not like, again, blaming him for everything on those sacks. Gregory Rousseau looked like a man-child, dominating the Steelers' offensive line.
Dominating Broderick Jones in particular.
Yeah, and that's probably concerning.
Right.
But, again, it's like one of those, he's trying to, let me just break outside, and Rousseau's like, nope, I got you, instead of stepping up in the pocket. So that the old stuff that Russ got away with, hey, normally you'd want the quarterback to step up in the pocket and then see if he can deliver a throw. Or our friend Nate Tice was showing a play that C.J. Stroud made this weekend, where he's under quick pressure, he shuffles up, keeps his base, and then fires a quick out, a deep out, and makes this play that looks kind of standard, I would say, on broadcast. And you're like, man, that is really incredible. The fact that Stroud kind of evaded pressure, just stepped up in the pocket, kept his footwork, kept his base in check, and then fired a deep out a little late than because of the pressure, but put it right on his receiver. Like those types of plays that he was making look easy. And, so Russ has never been the most, fundamentally sound when it comes to those plays. So, yeah, I don't think Russell Wilson looked great. And it's not like Justin Fields is tearing it up and needs to be the clear guy. It's almost like he's still closer to mystery box than Russ is, so it's more intriguing.
It's just that I think he's a classic example of, like, if the baseline isn't particularly high for either of them, why not at least lean into the variance? And that, I think, is the kind of, like, Justin Fields, unfortunately, doesn't seem like he's necessarily developed, or he's not going to step into this Arthur Smith offense, and actually that's the key to getting all of his flaws swept under the carpet. Like, you're still seeing plays that look exactly like they did at the start of last year, where there's wide open guys in the middle of the field. Instead, he's finding a way to turn that into like a chaotic scramble / ad-lib play that isn't necessarily gaining any yardage. Like, he's not reading it. I mean, he's not, going through the play, identifying where the target should be, and delivering a perfectly reasonable, simple pass over the middle of the field to an open receiver. He was doing that at the start of last year. He's still doing it now, but at least you have the ability, like, he's one of the most athletic quarterbacks in the NFL, capable of spectacular plays and spectacular passing plays as well, in a way that Wilson used to be and probably isn't anymore. So if neither one of them is going to be the answer, there seems to be more why not with Justin Fields than with Russell Wilson.
So do you think Fields, I mean, I'm hearing more of a groundswell that it's going to be Fields, that people are pushing for Fields.
I think
it could happen. If it's not Fields week 1, I could see it happening quickly.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I was a few weeks ago before preseason sort of happened. I think it's becoming more like Wilson is simply doing nothing to stop that from becoming a bigger and bigger thing, right? The groundswell for the backup quarterback is generally proportional to how the starter is playing. And right now the starter is not doing anything to keep that groundswell tamped down. So, yeah, the longer it goes, and I don't think Fields is doing anything to fan the flames. Like, he's just being Justin Fields. But Wilson is not doing anything to head it off.
Wilson's also on his 4th coaching staff in 4 years. And, look, he was in Seattle for a while, but I think he wore out his welcome there. You had the Nathaniel Hackett experiment in 22. You had, Sean Payton last year, and now you're in Pittsburgh. And kind of wore out his welcome in the last 3 spots, didn't he? Like, there was a point where I think Sean Payton was done last year. We know the Nathaniel Hackett thing didn't work in 2022.
Right.
And so, I mean, I was complimenting the Steelers for at least, hey, if you don't have a clear quarterback you're going to draft or whatever it might be, at least pay pennies on the dollar for potential starting quarterbacks and see what sticks and build the rest of your roster. Like, fine with that from a process standpoint. The risk associated with that, though, is that, Russ plays the way he has the last 3 years, and Justin Fields never develops, and you still don't have a quarterback. You're not, and you're in the market again next year, and we might be there if we're overreacting to preseason right now.
Right, and it's also reasonable to point out, in this world of it was against the backups. This was against Buffalo starters, who are a pretty good defense and a pretty good unit. And like Gregory Rousseau had 3 sacks on I think 7 pass rushes. Broderick Jones was getting absolutely annihilated by him. Broderick Jones is now sort of starting to emerge, starting to seem like a potential problem. Now, I don't know that it's helpful when you have young offensive tackles and you're bouncing them from left side to right side and back again.
Yeah, he was going to be the starting left tackle until Fautano got hurt.
Right. I don't know that the solution to that should be let's flip him back to the other side and play him against Gregory Rousseau. I just don't think that that's helpful for Broderick Jones' development. And this is, I think, a difficult situation for some teams where the backup tackle is also the young guy that theoretically is going to be a starter at some point. The Jets did this with Fashanu, right? I think that the Jets, like Fashanu landing with the Jets is an amazing spot for him because he can get most of the practice reps. At some point, he'll probably need to play because Tyron Smith will get hurt during the season, and Fashanu is a ready-made left tackle replacement. The problem is he's also the backup right tackle because the third tackle has got to be the swing guy who's got to play both sides of the line. I don't think that's helpful for young players trying to learn a position in the NFL to have to be at a moment's notice ready to go, okay, now reverse it. What? I'm trying to get this down and I can't. It's not going to work.
For OT3 though, for the third tackle, I get it. I mean, from a team building standpoint, you have to do that. You can't.
But I think
most teams can't keep. It's tough to even keep 9 or 10 offensive linemen, so you don't literally have a backup for each position. So then you're limiting yourself if you're like, hey, Fashanu is only Tyron Smith insurance this year.
I feel like you need to have another answer than to take the young prospective starter at a tackle position and just have him, like he can't permanently be cross-trained in a position where he needs to be able to, at a moment's notice, reverse everything he's doing and go to the other side of the line just because a guy gets hurt 25 snaps into a game. Like, I think you need to, if you have a guy that you believe is your left tackle of the future, you need to dial in on that and let him learn to be your left tackle of the future. Find some other solution for what happens if the right tackle goes down. Any other solution than taking your left tackle of the future and asking him immediately to reverse everything he's just been learning.
I mean, maybe he'll still be fine at left tackle when you need him.
Maybe. But now, the point is Broderick Jones, that was concerning.
So again, Jones played left tackle in college, right tackle last year for the Steelers. Had some ups and downs. I know the Steelers' run game was completely different statistically when he was in there. It's not necessarily directly because of him, but it was better. And now he was going to play left tackle to start the season. He's back at right tackle the other night, kind of got whooped a little bit. Other Steelers offensive line news, rookie Zach Frazier now probably in line to start as starter Nate Herbig at center. Center Nate Herbig out for the season. And Zach Frazier, the second-round pick, probably going to take over. Frazier's looked pretty good this preseason. He's a powerful run blocker. He had a couple mental mistakes in there, it looked like, but can move people and look really good in pass protection so far this preseason. So they're talking, once Fautano's back, we might have that 2-rookie offensive line that we expected in Pittsburgh. And, Frazier just getting into the starting lineup, maybe a little bit sooner than expected.
Yeah, Frazier's been impressive. And then the other rookie starting center, potentially, Cooper Beebe, has been impressive for Dallas as well. So, again, the sort of second offensive lineman for these teams that double-dipped on the offensive line, each of whom at the time was kind of circled as a guy that could easily end up as a starter. They both look like they might manage it.
Incredible segue. I was at a kid's birthday party yesterday, grinding film.
Yeah.
Watching film. And I audibly gasped at a Cooper Beebe block. Like, people around me like, what's going on over there? I'm like just sitting there on my computer being antisocial watching film, getting ready for today's podcast, Right. Cooper Beebe looked good at center. But he had a double team block, got to the second level, took the linebacker and just like pushed him right over. Pancaked him. Cooper Beebe looking good. as is fellow rookie Tyler Guyton for the second straight week for the Cowboys at left tackle. So they look like, they could have the two starting rookies, and so far so good for Cooper Beebe and Tyler Guyton.
For all the crap that Jerry Jones takes, much of it deserved. If they end up legitimately nailing Cooper Beebe and Tyler Guyton as draft picks, and those guys are able to step in day one and be average to above average offensive linemen, I mean, that rescues so much potential concern for the Dallas Cowboys.
They've been the best drafting team in the league.
Yeah.
For the last 7-8 years, whichever time frame you want to look at. It's the Cowboys, it's the Chiefs. Saints are up there on a per player basis, but they don't draft as many players. But the Cowboys are as good of a drafting team as any team in the NFL. And I don't know if you can sustain that, but maybe Jerry's kind of banking on that.
Yeah, well, he's definitely banking on it, but now they actually need it to be the case for this specific year, because they're going to need more than one of these rookies to probably start and be pretty good. Otherwise, they're taking a step back from last year. I forget which Dallas Cowboys Twitter personality, blogger, I don't even know what he was. I forget who it was, so apologies for this, but he was saying that the difference between Beebe and anybody else at center, essentially, is that Cooper Beebe has more whip-ass to him, which I think is a nice way of explaining it. He's got that nasty streak that everyone loves for offensive linemen. Like, Cooper Beebe is going to make your life more miserable.
Yeah, he deposited a linebacker 5 yards down the field with a little shove.
A little shove.
It was pretty good. It made me gasp at the birthday party.
All right, what else you got for preseason week 2?
What else do I have here? I mean, that was some of it. The offensive line stuff. Oh, I wanted to give a shout out to your guy, Will McDonald. Back to back, I think it was 90 plus PFF pass rush grades. Again, all those grades are available right now. You can log in with your PFF Plus account. Also get 25% off NFL Show 25. Yes, till tomorrow. But Will McDonald, 90.5 pass rush grade this week. Had a good grade last week as well. He is still not good against the run. Right. He still gets locked up and moved and awful in the run game. But spin move, explosiveness, it was backup offense. I'm looking up the offensive lineman. It's like, this guy hasn't taken a snap. And
to be fair, his grade it's basically that play, right? Because he didn't, he was only on there for it's like.
But it's 2 straight weeks. I'm
agreed.
Saying 2 straight weeks.
But it's not it's not like Rousseau, who had 3 sacks on 7 rushes or whatever. Like it's he whooped the tackle with a really nice inside spin move for a sack. Great play, but that's basically your game.
And so I just wanted to highlight, given the storyline, Hassan Reddick. They get rid of undersized pass rusher Bryce Huff, who's just a pass rush specialist. They bring in undersized pass rusher Hassan Reddick to replace Bryce Huff. Reddick is demanding a trade. And you have undersized pass rusher Will McDonald on the field, and you might just need him to do this. Just be explosive. Just have that spin move in your back pocket when you need it. Just be a guy that can get after the quarterback. And I think, you've said this for a while, he should be able to just do that. And if you could just limit him to like 50 snaps against the run this year, you can get value out of him.
Well, that's the thing. They seem to be specifically, I don't know if they're just sort of trying to make this point publicly for him, but they're talking about, he needs to get stronger, he needs to get bigger, he needs to be able to set the edge. It's like, okay, yeah, in an ideal world, you would like your first round off or defensive lineman to be a complete player and be able to hold up again. But like, you have the role that he doesn't actually need to do any of that, right? If he can just be what Bryce Huff was, that's a very valuable player, as evidenced by the contract that Bryce Huff just signed. So, yeah, it would be great if he added 20 pounds and became a rock against the run and, turned into this all-around defensive end that was just a beast. But if he doesn't do any of that, you actually have the role there for him to still cook, right? To just unleash him to be Yannick Ngakoue or Bryce Huff and be a one-dimensional, situational guy who doesn't really have to worry about the run game and can still just murder offensive tackles with quickness and speed and an inside counter. Just let him do that and tap into it.
So, I thought that McDonald stood out to me. Do you have anything else to highlight? I had 2 more.
Yeah, I got a few more things.
I had 2 more quick stories for myself.
We finally, it's only preseason, but we finally got Mahomes with the behind the back pass.
Oh, yeah.
That's been coming for a while.
Now, he said it wasn't designed.
Yeah.
He's claiming that Travis was off. Travis got his head in the concerts. He's had a long summer, and he didn't run the right route. And Mahomes is just like, I had to get it to him.
Yeah, and they asked Kelsey about that, and he disagreed, but also his answer made it sound like he didn't quite understand the question either, and was just sort of answering something slightly different. So
we've all been there on TV.
It looked like simply the next evolution of the underarm shovel pass that they've run forever. It looked fairly designed to me.
Yeah.
I also saw people people were going, okay, obviously behind the back pass itself, it's pretty crazy. Not unprecedented, but crazy. And this has been something that they have been doing in practice. Like, it's been coming, right, for years, in fact. Like, he's been messing around with stuff like this in practice. And like, Mahomes is only a matter of time away from breaking this out in a game. Now, we're preseason, so we're still technically not in the regular season. It's going to happen at some point. He'll do this. What I saw people being like, this is fiendish of Andy Reid to like put this on tape, right? For teams to have to think about it, even for a split second. It's the same pass. It's fundamentally no different from the underarm shovel. Like, if you're that guy, like the option player on that play, your thing doesn't change. Either way, it's the pass you need to worry about is the one coming around the corner to Kelsey. Whether he delivers it underarm, through the legs, round the back, it doesn't matter. It's all the same.
I would say the little difference there is theoretically you can run it at a quicker speed, right? So Mahomes gets out of the pocket. He almost has to like slow down to do the underhand one, whereas behind the back you can kind of keep your speed up. It just puts a little more indecision into the edge player.
I don't think that's true at all. I think either way, you're running to your right, you're flicking it back left. The only difference is, does it pass behind or in front of your body? It's the same throw. One just has more style points to it.
I can't believe people overreacted on Twitter.
Yeah. So anyway, cool, but I don't think fundamentally changes anything. I don't think there's a single defender looking at that tape and now going, oh, no, this is another thing I got to worry about. Like, it's the same throw. It's the same play. He was already worried about it.
They could worry
now
about
he
it.
just has to worry about getting embarrassed more by it because it's behind the back.
I want to highlight Joe Andreessen.
Okay.
He's a linebacker for the Bills.
Right.
Former Bryant linebacker. Bryant, formerly of the Northeast 10 conference. Same conference I played in. And then he transferred to Buffalo last year. Flying around the field. 5 defensive stops. And
now the Bills have a hole at linebacker.
And I'm getting the grade reviewed.
Okay.
Because he was just so fast in the backfield. The dude, I'm just throwing this out there. Playing football like Chris Borland out there. Go watch his film, Sam.
And now the Bills have this hole at linebacker because Matt Milano is injured again with a bicep injury.
Andreessen stood out to me because my data may have liked him. And I was looking him up during the draft season, and he's like 600th on the consensus board. Like, if they ran 2 NFL drafts, he was still not going to get drafted, according to the consensus board, which is very relatable as someone who's been undrafted 4,500 times in my life here, legally.
I mean, when you're at that level,
Andreessen was just all over the place. He's already become a little cult hero in Buffalo circles, but the dude could play football. And now, because of the Matt Milano injury, who knows?
When you're at that level on the consensus board, your ranking is simply a reflection of how many people have even heard of you.
Oh, it literally is. I mean, I'm grabbing this from that consensus board website, and if no one has put you on a board, there's just like this default you're going to...
So the fewer people that have heard of you like dictates how far down the list you're going to fall.
And there's probably one analyst that goes out there before Dane's thing comes out and actually ranks like 2,500 players.
Where did Dane have him ranked? Have you checked that? Where is he in the beast?
I think Dane had him too low. Wherever it was.
Well, I mean, if he's good, then almost by definition, he had him too low. But
he was
probably higher than 600.
Just saying, he should have been a priority free agent for teams that were privy to the right data. And dude looked awesome the other night against the Steelers, rolling with the ones.
Yeah,
as well.
So another cult hero that appears to be emerging. I think that's a good one to highlight. The Chiefs have got themselves a seeming cult hero in Carson Steele. Fullback / running back.
We did not give him enough love for his trademark angry run.
Right, we didn't give him any.
Yeah.
He's working his way into the first team as well. Now, first team is a sort of fullback, but he was getting reps with the first team, and they're giving him the carry. You know, he's part of the passing game. He was returning a kick, which was really funny. Like, he returned a kick by just running in a straight line like Juggernaut from the X-Men, where he's blasting through the walls. It's just head down, like boom, ksh, boom. Ksh. That was how Carson Steele was returning a kick in this game. Now, you can question how effective that's going to be in the NFL, but he's fun to watch. Hashtag
fun to watch. I mean, to me, when you're the Chiefs, if you just add a different body type that is difficult to tackle, right? That's what I think makes Pacheco so fun in that offense and so dangerous, is he's just like a battering ram type of player when they have a whole bunch of shifty satellite space type of players. And now you have Xavier Worthy showing his speed the other day, by the way. It's just all these different body types. I think the Ravens have something similar, right? Like you've got a changeup, you have a slider, you have a curve, you have all these different pitches in your arsenal, Sam. So speaking of fullbacks / hashbacks, Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill this preseason has played traditional outside receiver. Yesterday, he's playing straight up tailback. And the funniest thing to me is they were running run concepts like straight out of the late 90s. So he's playing tailback and they're running lead draw with out of a two-back set. Like you see that like 10 times in the NFL these days. A year across the entire league.
That was Adrian Peterson's favorite concept.
Two-back lead draw for Taysom Hill, right? Fun, good stuff. Now he's playing straight up tailback. Then later in the game, he's playing fullback. Same thing. They're running a 90s run concept. They're running weak ISO, right? You got the over front. You run it to the bubble on the backside, past the guard, just straight up ISO behind Taysom Hill, your lead blocking fullback. Hey, they're exploring even new ways to use Taysom Hill, who is lined up in different. He's had a more unique alignment distribution this preseason than even the rest of his career.
But I sort of feel like this is just what he should be. Like he's just a tailback.
You kind of leaned into that recently. He's not a tight end. He's not really, but he's just
right.
Making a
like
running back.
We've been confused by the fact that he was formerly a college quarterback, right? And that's like messed with everybody's perspective because college quarterbacks don't tend to just become tailbacks. They go wide receiver. They go tight end. Particularly, it's unusual for a freaky athletic white college quarterback to transition to different positions and that. So it's like mess with everybody's brain. And because, he's got an arm, he can throw the ball, but like so could Mohamed Sanu, right? He wasn't a quarterback. Like it's just mess with everybody's brain. Whereas when you look at him and you say, what does he do best? The answer is play tailback.
Run the football.
Right. Yeah. If you could just give him a handoff and go, that is what Taysom Hill is best at. And you might have a gimmick throw every now and again, or you can split him out wide and, use him as part of the pass game. But fundamentally, he is a power tailback who fumbles the ball too much. That's what Taysom Hill is.
It's fun.
Everything else
fun.
is just like, noise.
On a weekend where we did have Bob's Discount Furniture Studio. That was fun. We did not have Jesse the Body, at least nationally, right? You didn't get to hear him nationally. Taysom Hill injected some fun into the preseason by lining up all over the place and running concepts from the 90s.
So Taysom Hill was fun. Josh Dobbs, I believe, is now the quintessential fun preseason quarterback.
Oh, heck yeah.
Josh Dobbs plays every game the same, which is to say with absolute insanity, like scrambling, launching himself like it's the Super Bowl, just lunacy, but it's fun to watch. Like, I would want Josh Dobbs to be my backup quarterback simply because it's high on the entertainment scale. If I'm going to lose my star, my season's probably done anyway, at least give me a backup that's fun. Make me engage in the game that I'm going to lose.
Can't argue with that.
Love that.
That's all I got on my end, by the way. So rattle off your final stories and we'll wrap it up and give everybody our final programming notes of the day.
All right, couple more. Chase Young looked really good in that game.
Yeah.
So Chase Young, now with the Saints, was a real handful in that game. Like, had a bunch of pressure. Let me find his numbers right now. They're not actually unlocked, so they're still being reviewed. But he had a bunch of pressure on not that many pass rushes. 3 total pressures, 2 hits on 11 pass rushing plays, and I think had a batted pass as well, like snuffed out a screen. Just generally looked very disruptive, very capable. Now, look, no Trent Williams, the sketchy offensive line we talked about earlier with Brock Purdy. So again, set your sort of level in terms of opposition. But if Chase Young actually had a high-end Chase Young season for the Saints, that would be a potential transformative outcome for that team.
Like all the 4-2 receivers that I'll believe in and theoretically bring into camp when I'm a GM every year, Chase Young. I'm believing Chase Young. Jameis Winston, every single year I'm going to believe it. It could happen. Chase Young elite season any year now.
Any Chase Young year, I'm on board for it. Okay, so let's wrap it up with I suppose we should break an international update.
We definitely should.
So the couple of real international players that I've been most interested in this process. Number one, we talked about him last week, Charlie Smith, the Irish kicker for the New Orleans Saints. If you follow a bunch of Saints like beat reporters, you get pregame, you get warm-up notes on Charlie Smith, which is effectively sort of, here's how far he just made a kick with 15 yards of room. Like, he just effortlessly doinked one over from 57 yards. It would have been good with another 15. Here he goes, making it from 62 again. And it's like, if the Saints I don't think he's making the roster based off, he seems to be fairly clearly the number 2 kicker at this point. He had one kickoff, I think, in yesterday's game. Well, they didn't even find, the game-winning opportunity for him late in the game, or at least didn't give him that opportunity. So it feels like he's destined for the practice squad and presumably the international exemption that you get in the sort of the free extra spot. So if he's not going to make the roster, at least find a 66-yard kick to let him take a swing at in preseason. Like, I don't care. Fudge the 3rd and 8. Give him the shot. Let him see if he can make one from 67 yards. We all deserve that.
We got a 66-yarder the other day.
Right. I feel what's the longest kick that's ever been made now?
66.
Right. Whatever it is, add a yard to it and let Charlie Smith take a swing at it because he's got the leg, and I think everybody deserves that.
So we need like a 3rd down from the 30, and they just run backwards, take a knee, and set it up.
Yeah, take the knee to put him between the hashes the way the kickers like it.
I mean, I'm preseasoned out at this point, right? I'm sure it's all right. We all need the preseason. We all need a little warm up. I feel like I'm mentally ready for a full game now.
Yeah.
But that's what week 3 should be for. Yeah.
Well, the final preseason game where people literally are doing nothing in terms of starters. They're just putting guys out to win starting jobs or win a job on your next team. Get the next gig, put some tape. The tape you owe Charlie Smith is letting him take a swing from 70 yards. And let's see what that looks like. So anyway, Charlie Smith update, I don't think is making the roster, but the dude has a leg, and it's pretty impressive watching.
I don't want to lose all of our listeners here. So
the second one is Louis Rees-Zammit, the rugby player that the Kansas City Chiefs brought in. So again, I don't feel like he's making the roster either, based off how he's being deployed. He's been returning kicks. He's been lining up as a running back on offense deep into games, fourth quarter, like with the last team. And they had him kicking off as well in this game, which was an interesting wrinkle. So remember there was talk that the Chiefs of all teams might do weird things with their kickoff unit. They might have Justin Reed as a kicker because Justin Reed can kick a ball and he can also tackle, meaning you're not a man down on that coverage unit in this weird new kickoff rule. Louis Rees-Zammit can also tackle and apparently can kick off to a perfectly fine degree, as in drop it at the goal line on these kickoffs. So I feel like Rees-Zammit is behind the 8 ball in terms of making the roster, but he does have some flexibility that at least, if they're looking for 53, the last guy, like the 53rd guy on the roster, he can return kicks. He can theoretically kick off as well. He's got that unique flexibility of he can lateral. There's trick plays involved that they haven't broken out in preseason.
The Chiefs have definitely practiced.
Yeah. So there's theoretically a whole world of stuff that Rees-Zammit is uniquely qualified for that the Chiefs presumably have been working on, but we're not going to see until the regular season at the earliest. That would mean he might stick on a roster. But
they can just keep him on the practice squad as long as needed too, right?
Right. Assuming. The only risk at the practice squad is obviously you're then exposed to anybody else claiming the guy. But this is the world that everybody's dealing with, right? If we don't think he's worth keeping on the team, does anybody else?
Yeah.
I will say that from just the few snaps we're seeing of him play running back, he's not winning the job that way.
Yeah.
Though he did have a nice blitz pickup in this game, which is theoretic. I mean, if you're like, where would a rugby player struggle the most?
Yeah.
It would be like pass protection. But actually, I think it was down by their own goal line as well. He came across, picked up a linebacker, was getting run over. Like he would have, pressure was coming eventually.
But he was there.
But he was there, and it bought, I think, Ian Book literally the second he needed to take a shot. Like, it was the difference between the play being dead and the play being
Yeah, I'm not
attempted.
sure I'm trusting him in pass pro with.
No, I'm not saying
Pat
it would,
back
but
there.
it was an impressive play for a guy that has picked this up 6 minutes ago.
The running thing, it does, it is the easiest position to transition to from college to the NFL, but you're talking about a whole different form of vision and reading the field than rugby. So I could see that taking some time.
He's also always had a really weird running style to me. Like, it just looks strange as a gait.
Yeah, we all have seen that.
Yeah. Like, it's one of those ones where if you saw the guy run without any context, you didn't see other players trying to keep pace with him, or you didn't have a clock on it, and you simply saw him move and asked, how fast is that guy? You wouldn't be like, he's the fastest guy in the pitch, But he is. And it kind of works. But I think that's making, when you watch his tape, I think that's awkward, right? You're looking at him with this scurrying little running style, and you're like, there's no way that guy's going to work as a running back. But if the speed is the same, it might just work and just look ugly, All
right, man, that's preseason week 2 in the books. We got to tell everybody what's going down here. Final show at PFF for Sam and I. It's going to be Wednesday. Hoping you join us. You're going to have fun on this show? I kind of like reminiscing and thinking back.
It's a weird show, right? It's like, it's our going away show. It's our final show at PFF. There's a lot of, there's a lot of emotions involved.
Yeah.
It's just going to be, I don't know. It's going to be a strange show. But hopefully it'll be fun and good and worth listening to, and everyone will enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to just a little bit of nostalgia. I would love to answer questions from fans too, because I want to honor PFF and pay respects to those who have built this place up and made it such a great place to work and spend about 13 years of my life.
Right. As we go week to week and show by show, we're getting closer to the regular season. We're getting more and more people tuning in that haven't always been there. So the chat is repeating, you guys are leaving, ? So you might as well.
Sorry, I just got,
restate.
I just got a DM for that too. We do have way more listeners now as we're getting closer. Sam and I announced a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
We're leaving PFF. We're starting a new podcast called Check the Mic under the 33rd team. That will officially start on Thursday. So we encourage everybody to come over and listen to us there, but also stay here and listen to PFF. So Check the Mic under the 33rd team. It's currently up on Spotify. It's up on Apple. It's up everywhere you listen to your podcast. It's up on YouTube. Search Check the Mic or go to Twitter at PFF_Steve, PFF_Sam. Both of us are pinned tweets. We've got all the links there. So we want you to come join us for sure. Thursday, we're going to kind of unveil all of our, we're going to start all our division previews and all sorts of fun stuff over there. For now, there's some transitional content there on the Check the Mic feeds. So Check the Mic, M-I-C, Mike.
Yeah, it's possible you may need to search Check the Mic with Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson to find it. There's a couple of things where it's not necessarily showing up without putting in the names, but you should find it once you do that.
We appreciate everybody for doing that, and then Wednesday we'll have a little send off, and hopefully have some fun, pay some respects, and then that's it.
Yep.
Sound good?
Yep.
All right. In the meantime, go subscribe, Check the Mic, go do it right now. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again on Wednesday with more PFF NFL podcast.